Hey everyone, greetings from Brno, from a 55-degree Brno day today. The weather is super warm and sunny and unseasonably warm. It's February and it's gorgeous outside, much different than last year's February. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the warm weather, I must admit, but I know it's kind of atypical of South Moravia during winter time, but I'm rolling with it. This warm weather kind of inspired me to talk about two grape varieties today, white grape varieties, that I think are the most important, the most influential in this region. And these grapes are Grüner Veltliner, or as it's known here, Veltlinské Zelené, and Welschriesling, or its Czech name, Ryzlink Vlašský or Vlašák. There are many synonyms to these grapes, so trying to learn them all while living here. So circling back into a little bit about South Moravia, I know many of you out there have never been to the region, you've never had a wine from here before. So South Moravia has about 19,000 hectares of land under vine. It produces 96% of the total production of the Czech Republic. The other 4% are produced in Bohemia, Prague, so you might know it. And South Moravia has a really long growing tradition. So our border where we live now, it borders Austria and Slovakia. Of course, Austria is known for their white grape varieties like Grüner Veltliner, as it's grown here. But this area gives a different macroclimate in terms of its terroir, the sunny days and weather that we have, especially as you get into the sloping hills of Pallava. And they create these beautiful aromatic white grape varieties in all different styles, from dry to sweet and sparkling. But talking a little bit about these two varieties that I think are the best expressions of South Moravia, of terroir, I wanted to focus on two winemakers that make a very small production, and they are very different in their style, but they have some similarities, of course. So otherwise I wouldn't have chosen them. But I think that they are able to express these grapes and express their personalities through these wines. So going to the first one, I'm very excited to talk about Grüner Veltliner. I think it's a fabulous grape. And this particular one is made in a natural wine style from Čačik winery in Kobylske. So Čačik is the name of the winery. Winemaker is Dana Čačiková. This is her Veltlinské Zelené 2015. So Veltlinské Zelené, again, meaning Grüner Veltliner. This is a natural wine. So this is a wine that is made without filtration, very minimal intervention, and it's considered an orange wine because the wine has spent an extended period of time on its skins, meaning there has been skin contact between the actual skins of the grapes and the juice. So that creates a deeper color, a little bit more complexity in the flavor as well. If you have been following my blog, I went to meet Dana Čačiková in November, and I got to walk through the vineyards and taste in her cellar, and she is just amazing. She's a powerhouse. She's awesome. I'm excited to see her pouring wine in March here in Brno at the Natural Wine Fest. So get your tickets. I will see you there. I'm very excited about that. But talking about her Grüner Veltliner, so I'm going to hold it up here. This wine has a really deep color. It's a 2015, of course, so a little bit of bottle age, 5 years. But that extended skin contact has led to this very pronounced kind of lemon color, almost leaning towards a straw. There is a slight cloudiness to the wine, which is totally natural. It's a natural wine, so I would expect that from this style. And Čačik Winery farms in 3 different areas in Kobylske. There's one large hill called Lasary. That's where she plants most of her red grape varieties. And then the 2 plots that are kind of facing the opposite side are Padielki and Skalki. But overall, she makes maybe 20,000 to 30,000 bottles a year, depending on the vintage. But she manages her vines in a way that's quite meticulous. So she does a green harvest throughout the season, leaving only about 2 kilos of grapes per vine, which is a very small amount. She's basically halving the potential of what could be on her vines in the vineyard. And by doing that, you're concentrating the grapes. You're creating an atmosphere where the grapes can really thrive and ripen to their fullest. And at the end, that makes a really fantastic, unique style of wine. She does not use any fertilizers in the winery or on the vines themselves, and the wine is unfiltered as well. So quite a complex nose. I'm getting actually more of the tertiary flavors from this wine, perhaps from the bottle age. A kind of mushroom note comes through, and a very concentrated lemon balm as well. There's a slight floral aspect, kind of like white flowers, but there's definitely an earthiness to this wine. A little bit of a stone fruit, like a little bit of a nectarine or an apricot. Slight hints of white pepper as well. But a very complex nose. Natural wines tend to give off a certain amount of earthiness that's really not found in wines that are traditionally made. So definitely a style that is unique and I think is a great expression of Grüner Veltliner. Let's give it a taste. So the wine has a nice concentration, about a medium concentration on there, bright acidity. It's kind of like eating a really ripe nectarine, really ripe stone fruit, a little bit of lemon on the palate as well. And there is a little bit of tannin, a little dryness on there, perhaps from that extended skin contact, which can lead to that tannin. Tannins are what's found in the skin of the grape, hence lending itself to that tannic style in the wine. But really juicy and plump, yellow apples coming through. Really lovely wine. For 13.5% alcohol, I actually am not feeling that heat from that higher alcohol content, but just really luscious and fruity, but still quite earthy on the palate. That mushroom is coming through as well. But this is definitely a great winery to source your next bottles from. She, like I said, is a natural winemaker, so very minimal, low intervention winemaking. She does not make a lot, so you really need to get your hands on these bottles quickly. Otherwise, I will just pick them all up. So going to the second grape varietal that, again, I think is of prime importance in South Moravia, and a grape that I had never tasted before coming here, is Welschriesling. Could not have picked a better winery than Gala for their Welschriesling. So this is Gala Winery, located in the Palava designated area of South Moravia, so within the Mikulov region. So this is Gala's Welschriesling, Ryzlink Vlašský, 2018. This is from their Hermes plot, which is one of the vineyard plots within Perna, which is a small village within the Palava region. So the Czech Republic, or South Moravia, has many, many subregions and villages, and each one is just so tiny but so different. So Gala is a winery that I hold in very high regard. The winemaker here is Jaromír Gala. He has been making wine since he was a kid. His grandfathers have made wine. He comes from a winemaking family. He is quite prestigious in his studies, what he's done in the wine industry. He studied viticulture in Lednica. He studied here at Mendel University, and he also studied in Veltlinské. So he has quite the viticultural vinification education. So one of the top winemakers of the country for sure. I first tasted his Welsh Riesling actually at Atelier Bistro. They were having an event there, and I'd been wanting to try it, never had an opportunity. And there I was with a glass of his beautiful Welsh Riesling, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. That whole night, I knew I had to pick up some bottles of it. It's a winery that he focuses so much in the vineyards. Each individual vine has his utmost attention. So needless to say, he is one of those winemakers that pays all of his attention to the vineyards, of course in the winery as well, but he believes that the soil and the terroir are what's most important in making wine. So talking a little bit about Welsh Riesling, I know I've mentioned it before. If you stay tuned to my blog, I will be writing a little bit more about this grape. But like I said, I had no experience tasting this grape. There's practically no Welsh Riesling grown in the United States. If you know of any, please let me know, because I'm very curious to know if there are plantings of this grape. Here in Europe, it is grown in Croatia, where it's known as Graševina. It's grown in Italy, where it's known as Riesling Italico. It is grown in Slovakia. It takes the name also of Vlašák or Vlašský. And what's interesting is that it can be made in all different kinds of styles, from dry to sweet. This particular Welsh Riesling is aged in both old and new oak barrels and acacia barrels. It spends about 10 months on fine lees. There's a lot of care and thought put into this wine. So excited to show it here. So I'll hold the color up here. It's a medium to pale lemon color. The wine is clear. There's no haziness or cloudiness in the wine. Welsh Riesling for me is a varietal that gives off some typical stone fruit and apple aromas, but it picks up this salinity and this minerality, particularly in the Pallava region where you have this limestone outcropping. It takes this minerality into the wine, and I think they're just delicious. Let's give this wine a smell. Some very concentrated fruit on this nose. There is some yellow apple, a slight green apple as well. This wine is a 2018, so it's still quite young. But there's some apricot notes. There's a little bit of a grassy note as well. But citrus flavors like a concentrated lemon, a slight yellow grapefruit. But there's some shaved nuttiness also, kind of like shaved walnut, shaved almonds, that kind of thing. Let's give it a taste. This wine's really, really refreshing. Slightly creamy on the palate too. Bright acidity, medium plus acidity. That barrel aging or barrel maturation has lent itself to creating this broad texture in the wine, which is really pleasant. Lots of yellow apple and stone fruit on the palate as well. This wine has really impressed me each time I taste it and retaste it. Wow. I mean, this is winemaking at its best. In addition to his winery here in Gala, Jaromír actually got his start at Mikrosvin Mikulov in the late 90s, and then moved on to Tansberg Winery, where he was director for 8 years, and then started his own project with Gala Winery in 2011, 2012. So he has been making wine here in the region for over 20 years, so he absolutely knows what he's doing. But great minerality on this wine. It's picking up that salinity from the limestone soil, and a beautiful example of Welsh Riesling. It might be one of my top 3 Welsh Rieslings in the country, actually. So if you want to know more about these wineries, these grapes, read up on my blog article about Čačik. She has a fascinating story, and she's really forging ahead with this natural wine, authentic wine movement in the region. And Gala Winery was just featured in Forbes, the Czech Forbes magazine, for one of the top wineries of the region. Beautiful examples of what this region can do in terms of their production and their terroir-driven styles. Again, very unique natural wine, Grüner Veltliner, extended skin contact, 2015 Grüner Veltliner. And Gala's more traditional Welschriesling, done in old and new acacia and oak barrels. Just beautiful styles of wine. I mean, look at the color difference on these. It's rad. So this is the Čačik winery here, and this is Gala's winery. You can see that darker color in Čačik's winery and a little bit of that haziness too. But in any case, I hope everyone can get their hands on a Ryzlink Vlašský or Veltlinské Zelené this weekend. Enjoy it, enjoy the sun. I'm gonna sit outside and enjoy these wines. So thank you for watching. As always, cheers from Brno. Cheers to Welschriesling and Grüner Veltliner. See you on the flip side. Cheers.